Today's review slash walkthrough is actually going to be an adventure called Rank Amateurs. It can actually be found in Dungeon Magazine number 22. It was made in 1990 and was written by John J. Terra. Now, this adventure actually requires the DM and the players to have Gazetteer number 10, the Orcs of Thar. And for the characters, it is set for 6 to 8 humanoid PCs of levels 1 through 3, with suggestions that 1 be a big gun, which means an ogre or a troll, 1 a thief-orientated player character, like a kobold, and 1 shaman or wicca. The adventure starts off in a wonderful village called Flushprog. It's the tribal center for the horde called the Rude Mongrels, who the players are part of. Now, this horde is actually well known for being accepting of all humanoids. It is actually filled with a bunch of loners and rejects from other tribes. And its leader is currently a Chief Umba. Now, Umba is a 5 hit die ogre and is described as being a little bit larger than most other ogres. Now, Chief Umba has a problem. And the problem is some of his extended family has decided to move in with him, and he doesn't really have the space right now. So his solution for that problem is to get rid of some undesirables within his tribe. And he has creatively come up with a solution for that problem by sending a bunch of undesirables to a diplomatic mission to a human town called Trenton. And guess who those undesirables end up being? That's right, the player characters. The actual intention is to have the party killed, thus freeing up space for his family to move in. Though the players may catch on to this, the player characters are not supposed to catch on to the fact that Chief Umba is trying to kill them. Even though throughout the game you will make very obvious signs to his intentions, it should be more difficult for the player characters to figure it out. Now, to top this all off, the entire town, slash village, slash horde, slash tribe, is actually in on this mission. Now, once you have the whole setting up the village and figuring out who the player characters are, they get summoned by Chief Umba to meet with him. And once they meet with him, they're given their mission, to deliver a message to the Humies in Trenton announcing that the Rude Mongrels are declaring war and then return back to the tribe. Umba tells the PCs that they're protected by something called diplomatic immunity and should be safe and should not be harmed. He then sends them off to get equipped by the Knoll supply chief named Ebnees Scrounge. And Ebnees actually has the equipment laid out for them. And all of this equipment is of various sizes and of dubious quality. Some of them are even designed to, well, not designed, they're just so poorly made that they will break in combat. They're also given a diplomatic pouch that they aren't supposed to open, a letter of credit to the wonderful inn called the Lost Lunch that is run by Humanoids, and some traveling money and a map, and given a rousing send-off by the village. The player characters may notice that their relatives were wearing black while wailing and gnashing their teeth. A black cat may cross their path as they walk below 13 vultures perched on a nearby tree. A gong bongs 13 times, a nearby mirror cracks, and the tribal flag is flying at half-staff. Perceptive PCs may feel that something is wrong. It should also be noted that the player characters are told not to deviate off the path and head directly to Trenton. Though there is something that is actually set up in this adventure that is set off the path. Now, this entire thing is set up as a hex grid adventure. According to the hex grid, the getting to Trenton is going to take approximately 64 miles. Now, I've done some of the basic math for everybody. If your party's slowest member moves at 90 feet a turn, which is a 30-foot encounter speed, your party will travel at 18 miles per day. However, if your slowest member has a 20-foot encounter movement / a 60-foot turn movement, they will move at 12 miles per day. Now, if they end up going off the trail and like going through the woodlands, that mileage is actually cut down to 2/3 of that. So for the 18 miles, it'd only be 12 miles per day. And then for the 12 miles per day, it turns into 8 miles per day. Now, you're supposed to roll for encounters once during the day and once during the night. For this adventure, it actually has it if your party rolls a 1 or a 2, your party will have a random encounter. There is a random encounter table provided for the adventure. Should the players roll a 1 or a 2, they will actually roll 1d8 on the random encounter table. The random encounter table actually has 8 separate encounters on it. A few of them will actually impact actions further in the adventure. Now, 24 miles on the trail, they will actually finally run into the Lost Lunch Inn, or Tavern. Here, the player characters are supposed to be on their best behavior, and humorously, the proprietor is called Lookma No Hand, and amazingly enough, he does not have any hands. Instead, he has hooks where the hands are supposed to be, and he also is able to open the spigots to the ale containers using his snout. A constant encounter that will happen at least a couple times during this venture is going to be between the player characters and a group of orcs that are part of the Yup tribe. Yup actually stands for Yellow Ugly Pig Noses, who are currently having a feud with the Rude Mongrel clan. No matter how hard the player characters try, they will have some sort of encounter inside the inn. Just the way it works inside the Humanoid Inn is they're more than likely going to end up getting into a fight. Someone's going to try and rob them. The Yup tribe will notice that someone's wearing armor that actually belongs to one of their kinsmen. There's goblins gambling. The player characters will also gather a series of rumors inside the inn, and there are multiple rumors pointing towards an abandoned fort located somewhere to the northwest. Also, these rumors will also talk about how great of a Chief Umba is, most of it being sarcastic. As the players leave this area, they're supposed to have another encounter shortly afterwards with a group of 7 halfling traders. The halflings are actually selling bogus goods, including a magical sword that is actually just a normal sword covered in phosphorus and is poorly balanced, and other equipment and potions that are completely and utterly useless. The book does say that it's perfectly understandable for the PCs, seeing as how they're playing as humanoids at this point, to just try and attack them. These halflings, while they're attempting to scam the players, will also mention the abandoned castle that's supposed to be to the northwest. Now, the players don't have to go to the abandoned castle. It's called Fort Boast. I'll spell it out on the screen here. And it's actually an abandoned keep that was maintained by a bugbear garrison back in the day. This entire encounter is perfectly optional, and in fact, you can just bypass it completely just to go forwards towards Trenton. Now, should the players decide to go towards Fort Boast, the castle is actually inhabited by the cursed remains of the previous garrison, which has now turned into a bunch of skeleton bugbears. There's some ghoul bugbears, there's a were-rat, and there is a hill giant they can befriend. If the players finish this mission or they go onwards towards Trenton, they'll be met by the garrison of Trenton that will stop them. The player characters are supposed to make a series of charisma rolls to try and make it past it, but once they do, they'll be set up in sort of one of the inns inside the town. The book mentions that this is probably going to be the best inn the player characters have ever been into. However, it is the worst inn in the town. The whole time they're in there, they'll be trailed by the guards. Eventually, they'll go on to meet the lord of the town. And when he opens the diplomatic pouch, it's going to be revealed that the diplomatic pouch is actually full of disgusting green goop that just falls straight on his lap, which causes him to freak out and then order his guards and the rest of the garrison to attack the player characters. Now, during the previous night, the player characters were in the town. They are supposed to be given many opportunities to discover that there is a series of horses being kept in the stables and other escape routes they could try and use. Should the players decide to use these escape routes, they should be able to make it out the front gates way before the garrison is able to completely surround them and kill them. If they had befriended the hill giant, he will be outside the town throwing boulders to cover their escape. Once the player characters actually escape outside the town, the lord of the town will not have his troops pursue them, afraid that it's actually a elaborate trap set up for him to kill the garrison. The players then are able to make it back towards Flushprog, where Chief Umba will be remarkably surprised at their survival, but won't mention it. He will tell them that unfortunately they are low on funds and cannot afford the reward that he had told them they would get. However, he congratulates them on the job well done, and if they have the hill giant with them, the players and Chief Umba can have a sort of like a contested charisma roll to see who can maintain control of the hill giant. And from there, the player characters are free to return back to their normal lives. This entire adventure is actually designed mainly as like a starting point for the player characters to begin their own humanoid campaign. The entire thing is quite humorous and entertaining. You can find the PDFs of this magazine online for free. Someone's created an entire archive of every single one of them. It's quite amazing. The adventure, I'm not even going to rate it for value, but the actual adventure itself, I'm going to rate it a 4 out of 5 just for the sheer entertainment value of the thing. And like I said, for value, I'm not even going to rate it. It's this magazine that's been out of print for over, 31 years. As of the time I'm making this video, which is 2021. For deadliness factor, it can be pretty deadly. I mean, if the players, the were-rat can cause them a lot of damage. The town garrison can kill them if they mess it up. But most of the rest of the encounters are made as sort of like they're made for fun. If you guys have any experience with it, go ahead and add it down there in the comment section, and I'll be glad to reply to them. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.